Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today on our webinar, Accelerate Native Payment Collection in NetSuite. Do we have more people joining? Perfect. If they join, they can join midway. Otherwise, we'll be sharing the link of this webinar with them as well. My name is Yash, and I work as a lead functional consultant specializing in NetSuite implementations and solution design. Today, I will be representing VNMT Solutions. We are a global NetSuite development and integration partner. We've got teams across US, Europe, Australia, and India. At VNMT, we focus in helping businesses get the most out of their NetSuite investment, whether it's through custom development, advanced workflows, or powerful integrations. So VNMT was founded in 2017, and over the years, we have covered a wide range of industries through our clients. We also have a huge team of NetSuite, Soho, and Celigo certified consultants. We'll be walking it through all practical examples. Before we dive in today, let me introduce BlueSnap team who has made this integration possible. I'd like to invite Noor from BlueSnap to introduce himself and give us a quick background on his role in this collaboration.
Yeah, thank you so much, Yash. Great to see everybody joining, and thank you so much for jumping on the call today. As Yash said, I am Noor Joseph. I am part of the solutions engineering team here at BlueSnap. I've been with the business just shy of 2 years now, and as Yash explained, myself and Yash will be walking you some practical examples of how this payments bundle inside NetSuite can really assist and accelerate that payment collection all natively within NetSuite. I've also got my colleague on the call from BlueSnap, Draw. I'll pass it over to Draw to introduce himself and talk a little bit more about BlueSnap.
Thank you, Noor. Hi, everyone. I'm Dror Birzon. I lead sales and business development for BlueSnap. I've been with the company for more than 12 years now, and my whole focus has been helping businesses grow and navigate the payments world in a smarter, more efficient way. BlueSnap is a global payment orchestration platform used by companies all over the world. What we do is pretty straightforward. We simplify payments, boost approval rates, cut down processing costs, and make it much easier for businesses to expand into new markets. For NetSuite users, we build a fully native integration, which means no juggling multiple providers, no party connectors, no development work. You can handle credit cards, ACH, SEPA, BEX, and local payment methods directly inside NetSuite. Everything in one place. And for companies operating in Australia, the US, Canada, Europe, or the UK, this translates into fewer manual processes, real cost savings, a smoother customer experience, and a single payment solution that works both locally and globally. Back to you, Yash.
That was a great introduction, Noor and Ror. Thank you so much. Noor, can we go to the agenda? Perfect. Thank you for changing the slide. So today we are thrilled to showcase, as we already did, our BlueSnap partnership. Today we'll be covering how we can process payment processing profiles, how we can generate invoices with payment links, how we can do authorization and capture via sales orders, and finally we'll be covering reporting. We're going to tackle a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So if you have any questions, please note them down and we can have a collaborative session at the end as well. Right. Now let's get into the functionality, starting with the payment processing profiles. Noor, if you can go to the next slide.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Perfect. So before Noor walks us through the setup, let me explain what these profiles are and why they matter. So in NetSuite, a payment processing profile defines how you want to process payments. Note, these are not the vendor payments through our EFT page, but these are the payment processing profiles which are used to get customer making payments to you. So we use these payment processing profiles to set up payment methods at which you will accept money. We can use multiple banks, how transactions are being handled in different subsidiaries or regions. This is especially critical for multi-entity businesses where we've got multiple currencies and multiple compliance requirements. So NetSuite lets you cater for that. Noor, can you walk us through how we can set up a payment processing profile and how it can be configured in NetSuite?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump on to NetSuite so I can show you exactly how to do that. So once you're on NetSuite, we go on to setup, we go on to accounting, and then we go down to payment processing profiles. So if we then click on edit here, here's where you have your your different levels of payment processing profiles. Now, as Yash explained, this is a multi-entity environment. So, for example, you have multiple different entities around the world. You have maybe, let's say, an Australian entity as well as a UK entity, let's say. And on your Australian entity, you want to obviously cater for your Australian clients. So you want to make sure your settlement is in a specific currency. So when we're settling back to your bank, you want to make sure it's in a specific currency. You want to make sure also your charge currencies are relevant to that market. And so if you're in Australia, you want to be Australian dollars or USD. If you're in the British market or the UK market, you want to be able to charge in GBP and so on and so forth. And so this is where effectively you set up that multi-entity environment. Additionally, on top of this, if you have a specific market that you know, let's say Apple Pay or Google Pay is really popular. Let's say in the Australian market, you know that a lot of your share of wallet is significantly Apple Pay and Google Pay. You can set up your entities to say, okay, I want my Australian market or my Australian entity to be able to accept Apple Pay and Google Pay, but I don't want for example, I don't want my UK entity to accept Apple Pay and Google Pay. I only want them to accept cards. So you can really play around and tailor these payment processing profiles to your business needs and your requirements. And so you can have it very tailored. But on the flip side, what you can also do is you can have it a one size fits all. If you want a standard payment processing profile across all your different entities, you're able to do that as well. So again, having that real flexibility is always something that we've seen to be incredibly helpful to our clients. And yeah, it's a very powerful tool. Yash, back to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Noor. As you can see, this process is highly flexible and can support wide range of scenarios as per your needs, as per your region. And the great news is VNMT and BlueSnap, we work closely with our clients to offer hands-on implementation support. So you're not required to do any of this setup on your own. Noor, now that we've shown them how we can set up these payment profiles, let's get this in action with a real transaction. Are we able to walk us through creating a customer invoice and then we'll generate a payment link from there?
Absolutely. Let's do that. So if we just go into transaction sales and then create invoices, and we're at the invoice stage.
Perfect. While Noor is creating his invoice, I'll just walk you through a few benefits why this is required. So the reason we would set up a payment link on your invoices, it's going to help you in faster receiving of your payments. You can attach these links to your PDFs, to your email templates, and can make the receiving much quicker. This will also help your AR payload significantly. Let me know once you're done with the invoice creation and we can go ahead with the same.
Absolutely. Yep. Just as Jeff said, created a demo invoice using just demo data. And now this invoice has been created and the status is now open.
Amazing. So as you can see, please keep a highlight. The status is open. Noor, if you can take us on the billing tab. We've got two links available over here. One is a BlueSnap payment link and one is a NetSuite payment link. right? You can access both of those. What we recommend is that you use the second link, which is the payment link over there. That's a native NetSuite page. Noor, if you can click on this link, please. So what happens is that you ideally want to link that payment link on your PDFs. You want to link that on your email templates. So when the customer receives an invoice, they can directly click on the link and they get to see this page. This is a native NetSuite hosted payment page. So it's fully secure and customizable as well. Right. You can notice the custom branding we've got on the top right. You can select multiple payment options like credit card, AOH, which are present over here. And as Noor had mentioned earlier, these payment methods can be set up as per different subsidiaries and different regions as well. Got a question come up over here. It's from Vishal. Hi, Vishal.
Hi, yes. So it supports all the credit card types.
Correct. It supports most of the relevant and
Mhm.
bigger credit card types. So your Visa, MasterCard, it's all supported over there. Right. So as you
Okay.
can see on the top URL, it's a native NetSuite page itself. Right. So everything you are doing, it's being done on NetSuite.
Absolutely. Should we
Yep.
make the payment?
Yeah, we can go ahead and make a payment. Before we do that, Noor, can you explain us about how the security and how the PCI compliance works over here if we have to store any payment methods?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good call out, Yash, to be honest with you, because as you guys can see in this demo environment, we have this down here configured. Now, this is a configurable option that we have configured for this specific demo environment where we say we do not store your payment details. And now that is an option for anybody using this integration. If you do not want to store their payment information, you don't have to. However, for the companies and the clients that do want to store payment information, the flip side of this would be having a tick box here to say, would you like to store your payment details for future use? And that at that point, the card holder can tick that box and store that card information against their file. And so it's also fully PCI compliant, as Yash mentioned, SAQ level A, so it's the lowest PCI burden possible, and it only stores truncated card information. So you're never having access to full card PAN data. You're only having the truncated data to make sure that PCI compliance is at its lowest level. I see a question has been asked. Do you want to go ahead and
Yes.
ask that question?
Yep, sure. So with that regard, you are referring to the token, only the token storage, right?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. So what we
Yes.
do is
Okay.
absolutely, it's a really good call out. Yeah, 100%. So if a card holder wishes to store their card information, that card is then tokenized, and then that token is stored within the NetSuite environment. NetSuite will effectively then send
Yep.
us the token ID, and then we collaborate that token ID with what we have on file, and then process the transaction that way.
Sure. One more thing is if it's been stored, your user will have access to delete the data as well, because part of the compliance, sometimes we need to remove those information if there is no transaction with the specific customer from last 12 months.
And of course, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So the NetSuite user is able to remove any stored information if they deem so. So if
Okay.
that is a requirement, that is absolutely something that we can do.
Sure. And one more last thing that I would like to ask is that especially in the Australian region, one of the big concern is about the surcharge on the credit cards.
Mhm.
Does it allow the business to pass on the surcharge to the end consumer?
Yeah, so it's a really good question, and it's one that we actually come across significantly. Surcharging is a feature that is coming to this integration at the start
Okay.
of Q1 2026. And so that is when our product teams expect for surchargings to be compatible. In the meantime, it is not. However, it's something that is in the very final stages of development for us, and we're in the final stages of testing.
Okay. And sorry to take your time. The last thing is that it's mainly the online payment, right? You normally support the terminal payment as of now?
Absolutely. No, you can support virtual terminal as well. So inside of NetSuite, there is a virtual terminal tab where you're able to accept payment over the phone, for example, using a virtual terminal. That is also a supported feature.
Yep. What about hardware terminal? If assuming the store would like to have one terminal where they can tap and go.
That is not currently supported. So BlueSnap currently at this moment in time is purely sort of on the e-commerce side.
Yep.
And
Okay.
so currently physical POS or POS is not
Yep.
something that we support.
Okay, cool. No, sounds good. Thank you for that.
Absolute pleasure. Yash, I know we've got another
Um,
question. I'm just worried about time, and I know we have that final segment at the end regarding
Absolutely,
Q&A.
absolutely. Yeah, we'll cater to the questions at the end because we are going to continue on that time frame. Just one thing I want to mention over here. The question was asked regarding saving your credit card data. So what it means by token is that the actual data is not stored, right? So no user, whether it's admin or CEO, they cannot see the end customer's credit card information and cannot be used by anyone else as well. So just to make it clear for everyone. Now Noor is gonna go and process a credit card payment, and we're gonna move on and answer the questions at the end.
Amazing. Yeah, just typed in some test credentials to make sure this payment gets processed. Effectively now what this is doing is sending an API call over to BlueSnap to process this payment, and then hopefully we'll get a successful message. And this is what the card holder is seeing. So the end user, we can see that this payment has been made and it's been successful. They have a little bit here to say that the payment is made and it's all successful. This is customizable to whatever your needs are, and they can also see that the amount has gone down to 0. They can see themselves that the status of this is now paid in full, and they are effectively done here.
Perfect. Noor, can we also show what the invoice looks like now?
Yeah, absolutely. So critically, if we now go back to the invoice, we see it's open, but if we just click refresh, that invoice is now paid in full. And so that automatically applies that payment to that invoice without having to manually assign a payment to that invoice, without having to manually do the deposit.
This is great for our reconciliation processes and makes life much easier for the AR team. Right. So that's pretty much it for our invoice payment generation link. Next, we would be covering is sales orders with authorization and capture. Now, this would be a very new process for a lot of members who would have joined us on the call today. So authorization is a process where you authorize money from someone, and capture is a process where you capture the payment. Right. So this is particularly used in a scenario where you want to authorize and capture, whether you want to do it together or whether you want to do it separately. You can think of it like a hotel taking a deposit at check-in and then charging you after you check out, depending on how much you would have spent. Right. Another example could be you send out a quote to a client and you only want to authorize the funds. The reason for authorization is you want to make sure your client has the funds for payment before you go and process the order for them. So once the order is shipped, then you charge them or then you capture the funds. This gives you flexibility and control and makes things secure that you will receive the payment when necessary. As you can see, Noor is creating a sales order. Noor will create the sales order with a separate authorization and capture process.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. So I've again created a dummy sales order. Before I click save, I've gone over to the billing tab. I've clicked the payment, the card that I want to select. These are all the different cards that we have on file for this specific customer. I've picked the card that I wanna go ahead and authorize. On the right hand side here, you see authorization or you see sale. Sale is similar to an invoice where that auth and capture is together. So it does the both events at the same time. In this environment, as Yash said, we're only going to be doing an authorization at first, and then we'll be doing a capture. And so we're going to do an authorization, check the funds are there, and then we'll go ahead and get those funds out of the bank.
Correct.
So
You notice that unlike invoices or sales orders allows you to pre-authorize funds before charging. Right. This is important for a lot of businesses, such as e-commerce businesses, where the biggest example I can think of is Amazon, where when you've ordered, they have not deducted any money. Once they've fulfilled and confirmed your order, once they've started dispatch, then they charge it. So then they capture it. That's the process. They're following the same one. Right. Noor, did you have any comments on the same? As you
no,
can
I
see,
think
who's
that's
doing the
yeah.
fulfillment. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just literally just going through the process of effectively dispatching this demo invoice or this demo order. Now that this has been shipped, everything is all pre-populated. So in terms of the end user, all they're doing is click and save. It creates a cash shell, and it's at this point that we're going ahead and capturing those funds. So we've already authorized the funds. We're now going ahead and capturing those funds. We click save on this, and it should be a successful capture of the funds, and then that's all successful. If we now go back to the sales order, we can now see under the billing tab that there was two separate events. Now those two separate events is exactly what we've just demonstrated. It's at this date and time, we did a sales order, and we did an event of an authorization. It was processed under this card, and it was accepted. Operation was successful. This was the amount. Following on from that event, we then, a minute later, we did the capture event. So we've gone ahead and done the capture. It was processed for this card, accepted, everything was successful, and for the full amount. If there's ever a requirement for a lower amount, you're able to do that as well. So you're able to capture, you don't have to capture the full amount every single time. If you've authorized 302, but you want to go ahead and capture 150 or 200 or 250, you're able to do so. If you need to go ahead and capture more than the authorization, it's at that point you'd have to do a new authorization, because you've only authorized to be able to take up to $302 or pounds. So you can take below that, but you can't take more than that. And so if you do want to take more than that, you have to do a new authorization.
That's perfect. I believe we might have a few questions coming up. We're going to entertain those after we are done with our last segment, which is reporting. So, Noor, I believe that's all of our acknowledgement, authorization and capture.
Yep, that is it. So basically, again, differentiating from an invoice to a sales order, the invoice is basically you're able to do the author capture in one event. You cannot split those two segments apart. Where in the sales order, you have that extra level of capabilities where you can do just an auth, whether you're quoting, whether you're before you ship an item, like the examples that Yash mentioned. If you have physical stock, or if you're in sort of an e-commerce business where at point of them clicking place order, you just want to authorize that, make sure that the card holder has the funds available. And then at point of dispatch is when we start trying to get those funds out of that cardholder's account and into ours. And so the sales order allows you to do those two events quite easily and quite simply as well.
Perfect. No, that was a good overview at the end. Right. Now we'll move on to the next section of our webinar today, which is reporting. So one of the biggest operational wins we've got with this integration is the reporting. Right. So we go to BlueSnap reports, and then we go from there. So all payment activities available native inside NetSuite. So you do not need to log into a separate portal. Yep, Noor, we are going to look at the reporting dashboard now once you're ready. Perfect.
Yep. So I've
Noor, do
just
you want
clicked
to
on.
explain this part? Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry, Ash. Yeah, so I've just clicked on BlueSnap, like hovered over BlueSnap, hovered over reports, and we're just going to do a transaction detail report. There are a bunch of different sort of default reports that you're able to extract directly from here. And so, for this environment, we'll just do a transaction detail report. They are again run by those payment processing profiles that we showed you at the beginning. And so, if you want to run a specific report for a specific entity, having that unified reporting. And so you're able to do so as well. And so if you only want to have a report for your Australian entity or UK entity, you're able to do that. We'll just click the only payment processing profile that we have, and we go on to next. At this point, you'll have a range of different filtering options that you're able to, again, dive deeper and sort of filter into a more sort of granular level in terms of what do you want to see in this report. Some key call outs to talk about here. Not only can you view the report directly within NetSuite without having to jump to multiple different systems, but you can also download it directly from NetSuite as well. This is super, super helpful for those finance teams, those operations teams, where they're having to, on a daily basis, view or download these reports, not having the need to jump between NetSuite to a different portal to back to NetSuite to grab those reports. It's something that we're really proud of, and it's a feature that we've seen utilized significantly in our sort of client portfolio. On top of that, you can filter by payout cycle, by currency, by period. If you want to have a look at your chargebacks, or if you only want to have a look at what refunds have been processed, by SKU type as well. So if you have a sort of a recurring business model as well, you can have a look at just your recurring business, and then on top of that, you can have a look at your different payment types as well. So if you only want to look at, okay, how much volume are we doing under Apple Pay or Google Pay, for example, you're able to do that as well and have those filters available. I think in this environment, Yash, what we'll do is we'll have no filters just to show the level of depth that this report is able to sort of provide NetSuite users.
Absolutely. Once you run this report, as you can see, we've got a lot of visibility across subsidiaries, regions, all the different segments, your payment breakdown. This will help you identify the cash flow, identify trends, and eventually help the finance team close books much quicker. Again, it's all in NetSuite.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I mean, I guess the overall gist of this is that there's a huge level of capabilities that they're able to extract directly within NetSuite. You've got your standard things such as your time and day of the invoices, but you can also see what the issuing bank is, what the bin country was, what card network was used, if it's a credit or debit card, the last 4 digits, what currency, even to a level of, you can even see the level of fees that were charged for a specific transaction, and so on and so forth. I won't go through every single one of these, but yeah, the summary is that huge level of capabilities in terms of the reporting, directly viewable and downloadable within NetSuite. So making sure those finance teams and those operations teams have this data at their fingertips, easy to access and very streamlined.
Amazing. So Noor, I believe that wraps up the demo portion of our session. Now let's open up the floor for any questions, and anyone in the team, whoever wants to ask any questions about whatever you saw today, please go ahead. We've got a question already come up. I believe it's from Kamlesh.
And so does report contains the failed transaction?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Yeah, does report contains the failed transactions for some reason if the customer attempt the transaction but it gets failed? So how do we know that?
Yeah, so the reporting is basically Depending on what report you're basically able to extract will depend on what the data that you're getting from that report is. So there are reports that you're able to see the transactions that have been cancelled, and so in the transaction detail report, all you're seeing is the transactions that have taken place, and so there are different reports for different reasons, but yeah, you're able to also see if there is a need. There is also able to see what transactions that have not sort of taken place, and so yeah.
And my second question is about the link we are getting over the PDF. So is that a one-time use only? So if the transaction is get failed and with the same link, can customer attempt the second payment?
So if the transaction is failed, that link is still active. Yes, absolutely. So that link only lapses once the transaction is processed. So they cannot process the same transaction twice. And so if it fails, that link is still active because that invoice is still open. So that the status of that invoice will not change. And so it's only when the status of the invoice changes from open to paid in full is that then link no longer available to be accessed.
Correct.
Got
So
it.
when
Thank
the
you.
due amount goes to zero, the link gets null and void. We've got next question from Vamshi.
Hi, Noor. Good morning.
Hi there. Good
Yeah.
morning.
Does it have capability of processing bulk invoices? Generally, like company have due invoices, right? So right now in the demo, like we have seen only the processing of invoice from the UI. So just my question is, does it have like bulk processing also, like batch processing?
Yeah, of course. So at this moment in time, with obviously the payment links, this is actually a sort of a limitation of NetSuite itself. So in terms of BlueSnap, we're able to process bulk invoices. And so if you want to create an invoice that is compiled a number of invoices into one, you're able to do so. And so if you have one invoice and in that invoice you quote invoice number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in that, you're able to process bulk payments that way. Alternatively, it has to be a step-by-step basis because each invoice will have a unique payment link attached to that invoice. And so there are workaways around it. Like I said, whether you are able to compile multiple invoices into one, obviously that might have sort of a limitations when it comes to your reconciliation basis. But in terms of an out-of-box sort of bulk invoice processing, it's not something that NetSuite currently support. Once NetSuite do offer that capabilities, BlueSnap as a payment service provider, we're able to process transactions in bulk with no issues at all.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Pleasure. Good question.
So sorry to interrupt. No, there is one question in the QA chat box from Gina. The question is about what should I tell prospect who are worried about the implementation cost and timeline? What's typical get BlueSnap live on NetSuite, and what is there any upfront fees? So it's mainly about the costing and the timeline if they want to go ahead with the project.
Yeah, sure. Draw, I think that might be a really good one for yourself to answer. I know you work closely with that. I'm happy to answer any of the bits where you want me to jump into.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's a great question, and there are no implementation fees involved for implementing the BlueSnap suite of solution. So this comes at no additional cost, and of course you get out-of-the-box support from the BlueSnap team to configure it correctly and configure the BlueSnap account accordingly in order to implement your payment solution. And time-wise, I think again, I think it's mostly depends on the merchant, right? It could take several days depending on the testing, what type of flows they're doing, and to ensure it works properly and ensure the configuration are set up based on the business use case.
Yeah, definitely. And then just to add on to that and to reiterate Draw's point, and we mentioned this when we were talking about the payment processing profiles. We don't, with BlueSnap, we take a very much a consultancy sort of level of support when you sort of join with us, and as well as VNMT. And so what we do is we assign a implementation manager from the get-go to make sure that you have the support and you have the expertise of a payment expert with you to setting up those payment processing profiles, to setting up those configurations, to setting up your account, to make sure that you are effectively you're geared up for success from day one. And so it's not just a sign up and go and sort it yourself. It's very much a hand-holding process that we make sure that we're with you every step of the way. If you have any questions, if you have any troubleshooting issues, if you want to do further testing, our implementation managers are there to always support whenever is required. It's a great question, Gina. Thank you for that. Any other questions that we can answer?
Yeah, Noor, there is one query, and pardon me if it is not relevant to this session. We have worked similar kind of thing in the past, e-way payment processing. I'm not sure if you have heard that thing or not, but maybe can you please provide some differentiation in both of these things, BlueSnap payment gateway and e-way payment gateway, if you have knowledge of how they are differ with each other.
The what payment gateway? Sorry, just want to confirm.
E-way payment gateway. That's why I said, pardon me if this question is not related to this webinar. I'm not sure if you have heard that in the past or not. E-way payment gateway.
No, it's. Go ahead.
I'll
Yes.
just jump in. I'll just jump in this one.
Yeah,
So eWay is one of the bigger providers based in Australia, and so I believe it was Ram Pratap who had asked the question. So Ram Pratap, what the main key difference between eWay and the BlueSnap solution we've got over here is BlueSnap is completely native to NetSuite and it's free of cost till you use it. And also the reporting capabilities that you get in over here. It's also in-house, whereas in eWay, you have to go to their portal to check all the logs. So that's the key differentiator that we've seen.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Also with costing wise, from my experience working with both eWay, BlueSnap and other providers, I've seen that the costing where BlueSnap is way more client supportive.
Cool. Good to know. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks for jumping in there, Yash. It's not a provider that I've actually heard of before, so I didn't want to quote anything incorrectly. So yeah, thanks for jumping in, Yash. Amazing. Any other questions, guys? I'm happy to field anything further. Take that as a no. Well, in terms of from ourselves, BlueSnap, we really appreciate you guys taking your time to sort of have a listen to us, have a look at our demo, have a look at some of the capabilities. Well, it's been great to answer some of the questions that have been fielded today. And yeah, Yash, I know you want to say a final few bits.
Thank you so much, Noor. As we don't have any more questions, we can wind up the session. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining this webinar on behalf of VNMT and BlueSnap. Thank you for joining. We'll be sending up follow-up materials shortly. And if you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us anytime. We will be happy to help. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Have a great day.